Hi, my name is Anna and I will be presenting my dissertation project on the impact of virtual reality safe spaces on reducing anxiety and increasing positive affect in university students. First, I'm going to discuss why I picked this project. During my counselling practice so far, my approach has been integrative, focused mainly on cognitive. However, I have incorporated CBT and mindfulness techniques with clients. So a project that focused on future uses of technology to induce a relaxation effect really appealed to me, as I have used relaxation techniques with clients before and found them to be very effective. Also, research has shown that students often have an increase in mental health issues during university. So researching a possible technology which could aid in reducing anxiety was also interesting to me due to personal experience. So firstly, virtual reality is often defined as a computer-generated 3D interface that can include a variety of environments. Now, these environments have an immersive effect due to the multisensory aspect of virtual reality, as it can incorporate both a visual and audio experience. VR is most commonly known for its use within gaming industry. However, today I will discuss the new developments in incorporating this technology within a clinical setting. Previous research into the effects of virtual reality on anxiety have found this technology can be used as an effective cognitive distraction technique. Research has indicated virtual reality can reduce anxiety, particularly when individuals are experiencing anxiety around medical procedures. The software itself is very immersive, and the user feels as though they are removed and distracted from their physical environment. This is due to the multisensory aspect of the software that provides an intense cognitive distraction. Research has also shown that when used in conjunction with CBT during exposure therapy, users feel as though they are realistically facing their phobias without the risk of an in-person exposure experience. Largely, the literature has found that the benefits of VR are the ability to completely divert the user's attention from their physical environment. VR also offers a unique experience, which is a sense of presence, which I will explain in further detail in the next slide. So to explain further this idea of a sense of presence, the definition often used for this phenomenon is the user has a distinct feeling of being in a world that exists outside of the self. This differs from other forms of relaxation, as the user is fully immersed in an environment that may be completely different from their own present environment. Research has proposed this sense of presence is essential for mastery of relaxation, as the user is able to experience physical sensations associated with the VR environment, and therefore quickly experiences a relaxation effect, rather than having to be taught a new skill which may take a while to master. This effect is, however, dependent on the interpretation the user has of the environment itself. If the user has a negative past experience, for example, with being underwater, an underwater environment would cause a negative emotional response, and they would not be fully engaged in the sense of presence. So looking at this research, I initially was interested in 3 different aspects to explore within this study. Firstly, does the software that we are using from Spectrum Minds technology actually reduce anxiety, similar to past research? Secondly, does the software have any effect on wellbeing and general mood? And finally, is the VR software effective due to distraction from external stimuli, or is it effective due to the sense of presence induced by the VR itself? So looking at past research and the different aspects I wanted to explore, there was 3 hypotheses proposed to try and answer some of those questions. So the first hypothesis was that exposure to the VR safe space environment would reduce anxiety. The second hypothesis was exposure to the VR safe space would increase positive affect and decrease negative affect. This was to see if there was an effect on mood and well-being. And thirdly, the VR safe space environment will have a more significant reduction in anxiety than a headset with just a blank screen, due to the sense of presence created by the VR environment. So to test this, we decided to test 90 participants, 30 higher education university participants, 30 older adult participants, and 30 secondary school participants. However, in this presentation, I'll be focusing solely on the university students, as these are the results I have analysed so far. All participants were randomly selected to 3 groups, either the virtual reality safe space, where they would experience the environment, the virtual reality blank screen group, or the no virtual reality group. All participants were given an initial demographic questionnaire, and then throughout the study were given the current anxiety level measure, which was the CALM questionnaire, and the brief measure of positive and negative affect scale. This was the PANAS questionnaire. During the study, all participants engaged in 4 different conditions. Firstly, participants were asked to think of something that made them feel calm. This was the calm thought condition. They were then talked through the CALM questionnaire and PANAS questionnaire throughout this condition. The second condition was the anxious thought condition, where participants were asked to think of something that made them feel anxious. Again, they were talked through the CALM and PANAS questionnaire throughout. The third condition was the VR experience. Participants were either in the VR safe space group, where they put on the headset and experienced the software. They were also participants in the blank screen group, who also wore the headset but had no visuals within the headset. And finally, the no VR group were asked to sit quietly and relax with their thoughts. Each group was also read through the CALM and PANAS questionnaire throughout their experience. And finally, the post-VR condition. All participants were again asked to think of something that made them feel calm, and again were talked through the CALM and PANAS questionnaire throughout. So this slide gives an idea of what participants wearing the headset in the VR safe space group saw. Figure 1 is an example of the Oculus Rift headset that participants in the safe space group and in the blank screen group both wore during the VR condition. The scene that they saw with the headset on was the campfire scene shown in figure 2. The scene was 3-dimensional and would shift as the participant moved their head. However, the participant only had audio and visual from this scene, and there was no other interaction. So moving on to results, I'll first start with the CALM questionnaire. This questionnaire measured anxiety across each condition the participant was in. So I initially ran a repeated measures ANOVA to determine whether there was a reduction in anxiety levels across all 4 conditions. And as you can see in the table, there was a significant main effect across time, which means anxiety levels did reduce across the 4 conditions for each participant. However, as you can see circled in purple and in green, there was no main effect for the groups or the interaction between time and participant group. This means that anxiety levels did reduce over time. However, it wasn't dependent on whether the participant was in the VR safe space, VR blank screen, or no VR group. This unfortunately means it can't be said that the software reduces anxiety. So now we'll look at the second questionnaire, which was based around positive and negative affect scores. Each participant gave 2 scores for each condition. This was based on positive score and a negative score. So if we focus on the positive scores, this reflects how enthusiastic, alert and active a person feels at that present moment. A high PA would reflect enjoyment or engagement in the activity, and a low PA would reflect a negative emotion such as sadness or lethargy. So looking at the graph, we can see that participants reported high PA during the VR safe space group for the VR condition, compared to the VR blank screen group or the no VR group. So these higher scores reflect more enthusiasm and enjoyment during this condition. If we look at the graph, we can see that these scores are similar to the scores that they reported during the calm condition, whereas participants in the blank screen or no VR group reported a low PA in the VR condition, which was similar to the scores that they gave during the anxious condition. So moving on to look at the negative affect scores. Negative affect reflects the extent to which a participant feels subjective distress or aversive mood, and a high NA would reflect sadness, contempt, disengagement, whereas a low NA would reflect a state of calmness. So if we look at the graph, we can see each group experienced increased NA during the anxious thought, which can be expected when you're actively thinking about something that makes you feel anxious. You're likely to feel anxious as well, and so the NA would be higher in this condition. Although all groups then experienced a drop in their low NA, which would suggest a state of calmness within the VR condition, this is not significant as it wasn't dependent on which group the participant was in. All of them just experienced raised NA during the anxious condition, and all of them experienced lower NA after this condition. So overall, there was a non-significant effect of the VR software on reducing anxiety. This is when we look at the calm questionnaire results. The participants' anxiety appeared to reduce over time after completing the anxious task, regardless of whether they were in the VR headset or not. This indicates that the software was not effective in reducing anxiety. Therefore, the results in regards to anxiety are not consistent with previous research. This can be due to the task itself, that the anxious task did not induce significant anxiety in the participant. When designing the study, we did decide to allow participants to think of something that made them feel anxious, so they would have the capability to have control over the level of anxiety they reached. This was in case participants had previously had panic attacks or anxiety disorders, which meant their anxiety would raise significantly. This was to avoid participants becoming too anxious to engage. However, this might have meant participants didn't reach a level of anxiety that could significantly be reduced by the VR software. This could be avoided by replicating the study and including a standardised anxiety-inducing task, and is possible suggestion for future research. Past research has also shown a sense of presence created by VR, which is the key feature that differentiates this from other relaxation techniques. And this has been found to be dependent on the interpretation a user takes from the experience due to their own past experiences. So therefore, if participants have no past experience or a negative past experience of campfire and nighttime environments, they might be unlikely to feel a full sense of presence within the headset, and therefore that could explain why they didn't experience a calming effect of the environment. So to conclude, although an effect on anxiety was not found in my results, the finding in the positive affect scores of the PANAS questionnaire was interesting and could indicate an area for further research. Results show that participants were engaged with the VR software, which is promising in terms of the software design, as it indicates this particular 3D environment is interesting to participants. During the study, participants also verbally relayed to researchers that they felt calmer after being in the software, which could be reflective of an increase in positive emotional state after being in the headset, for example, an increase in enthusiasm and engagement, rather than specifically lowering anxiety. Further research could explore changes that can be made to the software to possibly induce a significant anxiety reduction, possibly exploring whether changing the type of environment has an effect on the participant's sense of presence and their ability to engage with the relaxation effect of the software. My focus in this presentation was on the higher education population. However, I would like to continue analysis on the other two populations to establish whether results are consistent despite age of participant and whether there's any main effect with anxiety and affect in these other two populations. Please let me know if you have any questions about my study, and thank you for listening.